Am I the asshole for refusing to dogsit when my wife is about to give birth? Original was too long. Sorry, mods. Fixed it. My wife and I have been pregnant for almost 9 months. We've been moving into a new house for 2 weeks. We couldn't earlier, which has been effectively left to me, as should be expected with my wife being in a delicate time. We don't have support with the move from friends due to their own issues ranging from COVID-19 to a divorce. My only assistance has been her retired dad with advice and his presence for installations and such. He's been outstanding throughout this whole move, and even helped move the washer and dryer in when he really shouldn't have. About 2 weeks ago I was told we'd dogsit for her mother. I was skeptical of it being a good idea immediately, but she responded with, "There's no choice, we have to." And I took her at face value. A week passes and my partner turns off my alarm so I'll sleep in and goes to get us a bagel each from the bakery. I sat down, took a half hour to enjoy it, and let my thoughts process. Why are we taking care of the dog, again? Mom needs us to. Why? She's house-sitting at your aunt's ranch. My wife's aunt and uncle were going on a vacation during the time of birth. From my understanding they don't get many opportunities for it due to their work. I'm not sure. She seemed like she was in a bind. My wife has learned that it's best to just accept the quirks of her mother and her odd requests, lest it escalate into her breaking down or them having a falling out. I swear, she just doesn't want to introduce the dogs. Well, I called her mother, and this turned out to be what's happening. She doesn't want it playing with the new dog there, just in case. We have no fence and have to take this dog for walks. My knee is out due to strained ligaments, but I have to do it. Doggo doesn't poop in new places. It just stares with confusion, and can take over an hour to go when it decides to. The 2 cats are hiding under blankets in terror because the dog loves to chase them. It's already crapped in our new house 4 times. I take the dog out 4 or 5 times a day to have it stare at me for hours, while I am needing to put together baby furniture. It's scratched at our new doors. It door dashes, shoves you aside, digs into garbage etc. And only stopped once I insisted on its compliance trained years ago. Our baby is being induced tomorrow because the doctor is worried about it being underweight. It all came to a head when my wife told me that I might have to leave the hospital during the 48 hours after our baby is born to make sure the dog is okay. I love this dog, but I told her that there was nothing dragging me out of the hospital away from her or our first child, let alone a dog that's not even ours that we shouldn't even be watching. She was upset that I wouldn't do this to save potential worry. Am I the asshole for standing my ground on this and telling her and her family the dog is not my priority right now? Edit. The same information is being requested quite a bit, and I have an update. Mods have given me clearance to break 3,000 characters to post this. Doggo is not being left alone for 48 hours. That was never the intention. She will be checked on. We were struggling to find somebody to check on her at a specific interval and I was being asked to do it. Though between 40 minutes of driving and a 30-minute long dog walk, I was worried I wouldn't be there if something happened at the hospital. Our floofs have auto-cleaning cat boxes, a water dispenser, more than enough food, and we can keep them separate from Doggo when we leave to induce today. They are freaking out, but are not in danger. I promise the floofs are safe, don't worry. We can't put Doggo in a kennel. We've tried to put our money forward for it, but we were told after taking her and this happening that she is not fully vaccinated so no kennel here can take her. Update. Mill is coming to be more active in caring for the doggo so there's no blind spot in watching her anymore. Not the asshole. No is a perfectly fine answer. Not the asshole. However, you need to find other arrangements like getting someone to check in on the animal. Why WBTA if you left a dog alone for 48 hours? Not the asshole. The logical thing for the mom to do was find a kennel for the dog. You were not the only option for the dog's care. But you are going to have to go home to let the dog out, or find a neighbor or friend who is free to come over. You can't go back on what you've said and leave a dog and 2 cats for 2 days in a house. Your wife shouldn't have agreed to this without consulting you first, especially given the responsibility has fallen on you to look after it. Your mill, I would say, is the worst of all. She should not be asking you two to look after a dog knowing her daughter could give birth at any minute. Moving forward, there needs to be some communication between you and your wife and boundaries between you guys and your mill. Not the asshole if you are planning on finding alternative accommodation for the dog. You can't leave them alone for 48 hours. But your wife needs to learn to say no. Moving. And dog sitting. And pregnant. Are you two nuts? You're supposed to get rid of excess obligations so you can focus on your new wee family addition. You might both come home to a disaster site with a baby. I want to say everyone sucks here because you've put yourselves in this crazy situation. Luckily, you know when baby is coming, so send the dog to a kennel when mum is induced. Not the asshole. The dog shouldn't be with you while you and your wife are managing this, but that ship has sailed. Call someone to check on the dog, and take care of your family in the hospital. I wouldn't be calling your mill, let your wife handle her family. Am I the asshole for telling my sister she deserves to be miserable? Throwaway my family uses Reddit. I, 31 female, have been struggling with infertility. I really wanted to have kids, but that's not really possible and it's very dangerous to even try it, so I just vent to my friends about my disappointment so I can accept the fact I'll never have kids and go on with my life. My sister, 36 female, has 2 lovely kids, a 8-year-old girl and a 1-year-old boy. My sister has always been very hostile with me due to the fact that I refuse to live by social norms and decided that I'll live my life for me and my own happiness with my own terms. My sister was always a more conservative person and didn't like that for me. When I broke the news after the multiple doctor's visits, when I was finally sure I'm infertile, my sister said to me, "Don't worry, we won't miss out on your babies anyway." Then proceeded to show off about how wonderful it is to have kids and that women who are childless have no true meaning in life. I broke down that moment, started crying and screaming at her how she's a mean person, called her out for staying with a man she doesn't love just so she can pretend she's a serious wife and mother, and how she's so sad and pathetic with her own life choices that she projects it onto me. I ended up saying she's a miserable person, so her fake displays of happiness should be taken elsewhere and not be done out of pettiness towards me, and that she deserves to be miserable in her life. Many of my cousins took my side, but my mother, father and a couple of aunts claim I'm the asshole for telling my sister she deserves a bad life and say I'm bitter because I'm infertile and she's not. So am I the asshole? Edit. Thanks everyone for the nice comments and even the not nice ones. One question I get is why I don't adopt. I'm not from the USIDK how the adoption process works there, but in my country it's a really broken system that doesn't allow anyone to process it. I'm middle class, I'm considered well off financially, I don't struggle. I have a stable high-paying job, but I'm still not considered filthy rich, and that's the #1 condition to adopt in my country. Being filthy rich. Secondly, the adoption process even for the rich and privileged is a really lengthy process that could take up to 5–10 years. So my chances are small to non-existence. If the system is making it this hard for the rich and privileged, imagine how hard it would be for a middle-class person. I've been diagnosed with a couple of health issues after my infertility, and I don't want to risk stressing myself out with the adoption process and worsening my own health too. I'm gonna move on and accept I'll not have kids, adoptive or biological. That was not the point of the post. While I appreciate the advice, it was about my sister calling me less of a person for not having kids. Also, even if I adopted, my sister would still not consider me a real mother. She's made her views on adoption very clear in the past. So it was about my sister's words, not whether I could adopt or not. Edit 2. An answer to everyone telling me to be the bigger person. Yeah, being the bigger person is ideal, but I'm not perfect. I've been the bigger person multiple times against her attacks, and that didn't get me anywhere. Sometimes I ignore her, sometimes I respond kindly to her insults. Try to kill her with kindness, as they say. And that's never gotten me anywhere. She walks all over me without any consequences since my parents always take her side. I had enough. Her talking to me that way while I was venting to my family was the worst thing she could do to me. It's like she was happy that I am enduring that. If I didn't confront her and tell her to be miserable, she'd probably throw a party right now to celebrate my infertility. Not the asshole. Normally I would say that everyone sucks here, because of your reaction. But the woman literally attacked your infertility, and that is so far up on the asshole scale that she broke the damned meter. It soared past calling babies and brides ugly, and flew right up there with abuse. She deserved every ounce of shit you threw her way, and probably more. Not the asshole. I think when you tell someone after years of trying that you're infertile and they reply like your sister did, anything that comes out of your mouth in the next 30 minutes pretty much doesn't count. Not the asshole. She really said no one will miss out of your babies? What a grotesque comment. Not the asshole. She can dish it out, but she can't take it. Not the asshole. Your sister's cruel remarks warranted an appropriate reaction. Yet again, Reddit can't cope with basic physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's third law. Sod the high road. I'd listen to your cousins before your parents. Parents tend to agree with whoever has their grandkids. I suspect it's because they don't want to risk losing access to them. Your sister seems like the type who would be petty. I was a second-class citizen in my family until my sibling with the kids went NC. About 5 years later I finally met the man I was holding out to meet. When we had kids, the speed of the back-pedaling on both sides could have won a few Olympic medals. I'm sorry I don't have a good suggestion for you. Besides considering adoption if you haven't already, there are always kids who need love. Just hugs, and support because I know this road very well. Hugs. Not the asshole. I see a lot of people saying everybody sucks here but I disagree. This might be the therapist in me talking, but you broke the news about something that was upsetting to you and she responded by basically saying, "Lol good. We didn't want to see you procreate. Also, I have kids and I'm so happy and it must suck to be you LMAO. You have no true meaning in your life." It was cruel. She was kicking you while you were down. And you're also responding to this after she's already so been hostile to you. This was a breaking point. It wasn't unprovoked and it wasn't an isolated incident. She was being cruel, and it was purposeful. Not the asshole. She needed to hear it and it needed to be said. Are your parents and aunts not angry at what she said to you? Am I the asshole for asking my friend to stop complaining about her job? My friend, F27, started working at a local pharmaceutical manufacturing company about a year ago. Ever since she started, she complains about how awful it is, how terribly people there treat her, and how she would rather get hit by a bus on her way there. She's told me that she's been looking for other work but hasn't even received a call back from anywhere. Last week, she called me, M27, sobbing saying that she's getting moved to a different department and she can't mentally handle it, saying she'd rather just be homeless. It's all she talks about, but we've probably all had soul-crushing jobs and I sympathized with her. She begged me to help her find anything else. I spent an entire day in between classes and my own job sending out emails and making phone calls to places I've worked at or volunteered for. Basically using any connections I had because my friend seemed so beaten down. I managed to get her an interview at my old job, which is cleaning office buildings. My previous supervisor there is a great guy and I loved working there. I only quit because I went back to school and moved away. This supervisor moved his day around in order to make time for this interview and did it as a favor for me. Interview day comes and my previous supervisor called to let me know that my friend didn't show up for the interview. No call or anything. I contacted my friend to ask what happened and she told me that she decided to just stick it out at her current job, despite the fact that my previous job offered more money and was closer to her home. Cut to yesterday. I'm stressed out from my placement, mountain of schoolwork, and working a lot in order to afford school. My friend sends me numerous texts about how much she hates her job and goes far enough to say that she would rather fall off a cliff than go to this job and she doesn't know what to do anymore. I ignored the texts as I was busy dealing with my own stuff, but then she sends me more texts this morning while I was in lecture. All stating the usual, "I hate my job, poor me," drama. I eventually responded and asked her to stop complaining about her job and maybe seek out some help. I explained that I've already pulled numerous strings, spent my own time attempting to help her, and I vouched for her and she didn't even bother showing up to the interview. She wasted my time and my old supervisor's time and it really seems that she would rather complain than actually do something about it. I told her, "It just feels like you're surrounded by fire and screaming for help, but when I hand you a fire extinguisher, you tell me you'd rather just live with the burns and there isn't anything more I can do and listening to the constant negative comments is stressful." She never responded to me, but I got a message from a mutual friend telling me that I should be more sympathetic to what she's going through. Too long did not read. Friend hates her job so I got her an interview but she'd rather constantly complain than do anything about it. Not the asshole. She is an energy vampire sucking you dry. You're going so far out of your way for her at all times and she can't even show up to an interview you arranged for her, making you look bad? I'd put some distance in that friendship. What do you get out of it other than stress? More sympathetic. How could you possibly be more sympathetic? You've already gone above and beyond for this person. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Dump this friend as fast as you can. The friendship is totally one-sided and you are being used simply as a warm body she can complain to. She didn't apologize. That's the key to her character. She truly is not worth your time. You went all out for her and she burned your bridges. Time for you to be done with her. Not the asshole. Sounds like your former boss is actually a better friend to you. I would re-evaluate that friendship. Or you need to have a serious talk along the lines of, if you aren't telling me about your job search, I don't want to hear it, not the asshole. Not the asshole at all, and you're a damn good human and friend. Not the asshole. She didn't just refuse your fire extinguisher, she burned the bridge between you and your old boss. You'll probably think twice before recommending another candidate to him, and even if you did, he would probably think twice about meeting with them. Her job issues are affecting your life, which makes her a toxic friend. Not the asshole, you went above and beyond the call of duty as a friend to get an interview, staking your own reputation and calling in a favor with your previous supervisor, and your friend didn't have the common courtesy to call them to say they couldn't make the interview. Your friend is addicted to being the victim of her own drama. She won't fix it herself and she won't ever change. If you keep her in your life, she will suck your energy dry until you are a husk of a human. You would not be wrong to cut off all contact with them and burning down the bridges over this. In fact, I encourage it. Am I the asshole for pretty much giving my wife an ultimatum? My wife and I are in our late 30s and have 2 girls, 14 and 16. My wife works in a pretty high-stress position that often requires a lot of travel, sometimes up to 2 full weeks a month. But the job is in her desired field and she's worked hard to get to where she is, and it pays well, which is a plus. I work a lower-stress job with more flexible hours, but it doesn't pay as well. Because of my wife's job, I have been the parent that attends to most of our kids' needs. I take them to their activities, I attend all the games and recitals, I take them shopping, taught our oldest how to drive, etc. A few weeks ago my wife got a job offer from a client of hers that she's worked with for years. It would be a more stable position that would pretty much eliminate her travel, and would also come with a nice bump in pay. The only problem is that the job is literally across the country. Like 2,000 miles away. When she told me about it she was beyond excited because this job would finally give her a chance to be at home with our girls again. She was talking about it like it was already decided that she would take the job and we would move. I tried to share in her initial excitement, but all I could think of was leaving behind the life that the girls and I had built here. My wife sensed that I wasn't as enthusiastic about the job as she was and asked me what was up. I told her that the girls are at an age now where uprooting their lives and leaving all their friends behind would be a pretty drastic change and we needed to get their input before making any decisions. She agreed and we spoke with them. Both of the girls wanted to stay where we are. Neither liked the idea of moving and starting in new schools. They like their friends, they like their school, they like their sports and activities here. My wife got upset and tried to convince them how much better it would be for her to have a job that actually allowed her to be present in their lives again. But my oldest pretty much told her that she was being selfish for asking them to uproot their lives just so that she could feel better about herself. My wife broke down in tears after the talk and confessed to me that she thought this new job would be an easy decision for us and I should help her convince our daughters that it was the right choice. I told her that I wasn't going to do that. I told her we should wait until the girls are done with high school before moving across country like that. She said this kind of job opportunity doesn't come around that often and if she doesn't take it then she doesn't know if she'll ever get a chance like this again. She said she felt like I was forcing her to choose between her family and her career and I told her that's pretty much exactly the decision she needs to make. She asked what would happen if she took the job and I told her I would probably stay here with our girls. She called me an asshole and now isn't talking to me. Nah, you and your wife have separate opinions on an issue. She's not an asshole for wanting the job, and you're not an asshole for not wanting her to take it. I'm going to have to go with nah. Your wife sees this as an opportunity to finally be with her family. It also comes with an added pay bump that may improve the family life greatly and as she stated, this opportunity doesn't come often. You and your daughters, on the other hand, have as you said, built a life, in your hometown. Taking a freshman and junior out of their current high school and uprooting them does seem unfair. I would recommend trying to see a family counselor. So everyone can feel heard, can weigh the pros and cons and hopefully come to a resolution that doesn't leave anyone feeling bitter and resentful. Good luck op. This is a really tough situation to have found yourself in. No assholes here, I can see both of your points of view here and neither is wrong really. I don't necessarily agree with the opinion of your kids trumping your wife's quality of life here. Traveling regularly and having that level of stress at a job takes a toll on a person, but she's made that sacrifice for years to support you and the kids since her job pays significantly higher. Now she has an opportunity to get out and none of you are willing to make that sacrifice for her and I'm sure that hurts a lot. Teenagers are never going to want to move, But hey, it's not the end of the world. I went to 3 high schools and things turned out just fine. Stressful jobs literally cause strokes and heart attacks in otherwise young, late 30s, healthy adults, so I don't see these two as being equal here. Nah. Kids that age are never going to be all, yay let's move, so I'm not sure their opinions on the matter should trump everything else. Career relocations are common for a lot of households, both civilian and military, and kids deal with it, often for the better, since they learn to adapt to change and new environments. Sounds to me like the actual move would be a benefit for the family. Better pay, but with no travel and a flexible schedule that would allow for more quality time for everyone together. It kind of sounds like you don't want to move and you're using the girls to bolster the decision. Or maybe the relationships in the family aren't that great anyway. Fork in the road. I'm going with you because you dragged your daughters into this right away when you should have aired your concerns with your wife privately. You basically foisted off the initial unpleasant conversation to your kids, which is not cool. Your wife because she doesn't seem willing to look at this from anyone else's point of view. Honestly though, reading what you wrote, it seems like your marriage is kind of over already. All I could think of was leaving behind the life that the girls and I had built here. Where exactly is your wife in all this? I don't think this is an ultimatum. You're just telling her the family isn't on board to move. Not the asshole. I strongly doubt she can't get a less demanding job where you currently live. Her assuming everyone would completely drop their own life to move kinda makes her an asshole. Not the asshole. Your wife is a career woman, and she's seeing the effects of being a career-focused woman. Just like men who neglect their families for their careers, she is seeing the consequences of doing so. Your daughter was correct. Your wife is using the job and the opportunity to be home more to make herself feel better about her years of being absent. It was a family discussion and most of the family did not side with her. She cannot manipulate and gaslight you or your daughters into submitting to her will. Not the asshole. I don't think you gave her an ultimatum. She has a decision to make and it is not an easy one. I feel badly for your wife and I don't blame her for being upset. I can blame her for trying to convince her whole family that what is best for her is best for everyone. Your daughter is right. I feel like she is being selfish because she was only thinking of herself.